investigating officer, when they reach the crime scene, they may have a bag in which to store the sample, but they won't have a seal. So by the time
See, when we talk about first response to rape victim within the 24 hours, we're talking about the first response after the case has been registered. And you're presuming that the case is registered soon after the incident of rape has occurred. And hence the whole issue of first response becomes very critical for collecting medical evidence, etc., etc.
Go and make your complaint. Whether you make your complaint to your family or you make it to policemen, wherever it is that is closest and easiest for you to go, don't be shy, don't be ashamed, don't be frightened. You are surviving something horrible. So go and demand your right to be protected, demand your right to as a citizen. Nobody is asking anybody to protect you just because you're a woman, just because you're weak, just because something. It is your right as a citizen of this country. That is all. And you can demand good service. You don't have to put up with shoddy service.
But in India, most of the sexual abuse is done within the family system or within the system of knowable people whom the girl or the woman knows. So sometimes she might feel oppressed, or she might feel that she should not go and talk about this. She might become secretive, but she should actually take recourse to informing centers like 100 or 1090 and get immediate help.
See, the victim, when has the courage, will approach the police station for registering the complaint. And that is where the police response comes first. And that is the very first agency, government agency, that comes in the picture. And this is the reason why this first response is what can make or mar the client, the victim, the survivor. And so the role of police is extremely important.
She should inform the police, and she can simply call 181, our helpline number. Our counselor will reach immediately, and she will provide all legal and social legal support to her. She will take her case to the police, and we file FIR. Our counselor take victim to the police station. They help in getting FIR done, and after that our CIC counselor takes over. They help her in getting her MLC, FIR, internal examination, telling her legal aspects about the case. They help her. Then our RCC lawyer comes into the scene, and she helps her in her legal fight in the courts. They provide all type of support, and we sitting in the DCW offices, we members are sitting there. If the victim directly approaches us in the office, we directly talk to her and solve her problem, and we provide her each and every help she requires.
The counselor's role comes to be there as a support person to the person who is victim, because the victim most of the time is shattered. The family of the victim is also victim. It's not just one person who is a victim. And especially when this person comes from a low socioeconomic strata, from underprivileged class, from disadvantaged group, they are very shaky.
Whoever handles the case first, whoever is the first person to talk to the victim, must be a sensitive person, kind person, allow her to speak what she wants to, should give her the best medical care possible immediately, because most of the times girls, women who suffer these abuses need medical attention. So the first thing is to give them medical attention, and then to give them a good listening in, and then take the legal action, whatever the case might be.
And it is here where a very sensitized police officer who understands that this is the dignity of the woman or dignity of the boy, whosoever is the victim, is impinged upon. And so respect the person. This is a victim, the person who has come with the complaint, but the dignity of this person is intact, and that is how they have to look at it, they have to do it, rather than denigrate this particular person, and especially if it is a woman, they would all the more do that, which should not happen. And very first difficulty that they have is going to the police station, because they don't have much trust in the police. They think that the police is going to not listen to them. That is how it begins. But they do go because there has been such incident that has taken place, and the police must invariably they do call the counselor, but in certain instances I know for sure they don't call up the counselor, and that is where it is something wrong on the part of the police.
Patriarchy is the basic problem. The judges come from the same background, the police come from the same background, even people who report on these come from the same background, unless they are women and unless they are empowered women. So many women also actually subscribe to patriarchy. You know that also. That sometimes when a bride is burned, sometimes her mother-in-law is also involved. She's a woman.
Absolutely.
But when that happens. So it is an all-pervading thing, and it is something which we need to come out of by thinking that women do not need to be protected, but they need to be empowered.
That's a problem of thousands of years, and it will not go in one TCW tenure. We are working very hard to break this patriarchal mindset, but these things do happen. We are trying our best. When this issue crops up, patriarchal societies, then I immediately react, and that's the time when most of the time I loses my temper. But beyond that, what can we do?
Conviction or acquittal is the end result of a long process of trial.
Yeah.
And there are so many actors during that. And even if you were to get 100% convictions, that doesn't mean the trial has been fair. So each case has to be judged on its merits. But how bad the situation is, the situation has broken down. I am saying it is no good saying that there will soon be a crisis in the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system has broken down, whether it is at the lower courts, high courts, or the highest courts. You cannot have the same arrears, you cannot have the same vacancies, you cannot have the same infrastructure, you cannot have the same budgets, you cannot have the same gender bias, and then say this is working. It is not working.
The government or what the judges think it is all false cases are coming up. Women are finding simply and falsely that they have been raped. According to me, the conviction rate is going down because there is no proper support. The cases are not investigated properly. Victim doesn't have support. Particularly in family rape, father raping, etc. There is so much pressure on her to retract. If the accused is an influential person, there is pressure on her to retract. Now this is the situation that we are in. So that is why there's a conviction rate is going down, but it is made out in newspapers that it's all because of false cases.
The state is responsible for equality of men and women and ensuring it happens, right? The state is the most important actor in some ways. They can't keep on putting the onus on societies like this, societies like that. They can't do that. They have to create mechanisms and they have to create responses to a situation which, if it was happening to men, would lead to a national emergency. So, the first responder in a criminal act, of course, is the police. When it is the police, we must have a police that is able to respond, that is capacitated to respond, that has got the right mindset, as we like to say.
It is the primary responsibility of the government. It is a question of law and order. It is a question of ensuring that victims do not remain as victims. They become survivors, and it's the state support only can transform victims into supporters. So it's not the police duty, but it's the duty of the government and other departments.
Police has been all that you are accusing them of, but the situation is still much different from what it was many decades ago. Slowly, the police has decided to sensitize itself, also to get professionally more capable. Only sensitivity is not going to help in these cases. You also need to be professionally capable of investigating a case in such a manner that the perpetrator gets convicted. If you just investigate the case and put it up and the man walks free, he's 3 times more dangerous than when he first abused the girl or the woman.
The police cannot wipe their hands off this. It is their first responsibility. But the police cannot do this on their own. They have to have the backing of the political executive. And the political executive also is not doing enough. And this is not only about the police, though today we are talking about the police. This is about the public prosecutor. This is about the poor defense mechanism, the defense lawyers. This is about the judge who is hearing the case. All of these often at seminars say, oh, but we are only as good or as bad as society. Sorry, I am not part of that society that cannot give justice. I don't agree with that. And you cannot, when you are wearing a uniform or you're holding a public office, turn around and say, I am only part of that society. And I am holding the same prejudices. You cannot bring those prejudices into the courtroom. You cannot bring those prejudices into your job as a public prosecutor. And you cannot start an investigation about violence against women holding all those prejudices in your mind.
The accountability of the police forces is as much as the accountability of anyone in the judicial system, in the criminal justice system. And now, as I told you, as I mentioned, Section 166A, it guarantees accountability for the policemen. What we need now is internal reforms within the police, where the system itself is able to discipline and sometimes punish the police officers who have not paid enough attention to women's crimes.
It would be to guide you to the person who is responsible for taking down your statement, to be courteous, to make sure that you have the kind of help you need. You may need medical help, you may need psychological help, you may need the help of a counselor, you may need to understand your rights. It depends on the state you're in. Have you been badly injured? Is it an ongoing thing? Is it somebody in your family? Is it the first time that you have had the courage, though this has been happening for a long time? The first response of the policeman to understand the circumstances that happen, write it down, get it accurate, make sure that all the material particulars that he needs to go after curing the matter, to go after finding the perpetrator and finding the correct perpetrator. And taking the case forward as it should get forward. It's only, the law basically is not that complicated. It is common sense. That's the best thing about law. It is common sense. What would you do if your friend was hurt or damaged? Or instead of rape, which we are always talking about, what would you do if your friend was the victim of a robbery? What would your reaction be? That's the reaction that we want from everybody.
We are sensitizing women through our various programs, as I just said, Mahila Panchayat, our MHL, our Sahyogini program. We personally go to various remote areas. I myself had gone to various remote areas, and I have made illiterate women about their rights and how they can avail our services and how they should know what are their rights in the Indian legal system. And after that process, we even conduct stakeholders meeting like hospitals, CAW cell, police department, other NGOs. We conduct their meetings, say about every month, district-wise, and we try to find out what are the real, actual, practical problems are. So, as I just suggested that most of the time, doctors even discourages about internal examination. We have come to know this. Our counselors have reported us that many times doctors say that don't go for internal examination, and our counselor had to literally fight with doctors, and these reports even come to us, and we call those doctors and ask why they did so. And this issue even cropped up in our such meeting where all East district stakeholders were present there. There one doctor suggested that if she was CMO of that hospital, she suggested if a doctor is hostile and if she is is preventing victims to go under internal examination, our counselor, they should immediately report to CMO or nodal officer. That we have conveyed to all our counselors, that they should not let this happen. Because if the victim refuses for the internal examination, that goes against her in the court.
Many people talk about sensitization. I'm sick of talking about sensitization. What I want is a professional police that upholds the law and takes account of women as rights holders. Their duty is to treat a woman as well as the perpetrator being the alleged perpetrator, right? Gather the evidence, bring it to court, and if they don't do the right things at that first moment, you cannot get a fair trial. You can get a trial that is based on hearsay, on evidence that is bad. You constantly get acquittals. If the acquittals are based on the correct facts being put before the judge, I can understand it. But usually it is because there has been a failure in the police to gather evidence, failure in the prosecution to gather evidence. So you're not giving a fair trial to these people. If you're acquitting, or even if you're finding guilty a person on the wrong basis, the signal you are sending to the whole of society is that there is no justice for anybody. Not to the victim, not to the perpetrator, not to society. What happens when a person who has actually raped somebody is acquitted because of technicalities, because of bad preparation, because of collusion, all of these things? What happens?
Absolutely.
You have a rapist within the society. What is he doing? He is showing a signal, he is showing a demonstrable जीता जागता आदमी वो कह रहा है कि देखो मुझे, I've got away with it.
By and large, when the training takes place, it is the information, I said earlier also, this is the information that becomes utmost important and then passed on. Legal understanding, yes, it is also important, but that is not the only thing. You understand various laws, implication of laws, various sections of the laws, it is important, but that is not the only thing. This kind of legal understanding needs to be passed on to all the players. Of course, judges, they themselves know about it, but many times even judges are not quite aware. So that is fine. But what is very important is that you respect the victim who is coming to you with a complaint. So this kind of sensitization about gender, that gender is not male and female. It is LGBTQ also. If it is LGBTQ coming in for the complaint, अरे तुम तो ऐसे ही हो, तुम्हारे साथ और क्या हो सकता है? See, that is the kind of response they get, and that is the reason why you hardly come across LGBTQ person coming in for the complaint. Is we have not experienced Asian living. So that sensitization, that you respect the person, whether he is a man, woman, or LGBTQ community member. One thing, that it is not that there is something wrong done by this woman or this victim that has invited this action. You have to look into who is the perpetrator and listen to the victim, listen to the person who has come with a complaint, and actually exactly follow all that rather than discourage them. All this sensitization needs to be done with the police, with the lower judiciary, and with the higher judiciary as well. Because, as I said, all of us come from one mindset, and that is patriarchal mindset. Our social norms are very strong. That is where everybody comes from, and so we have to see that this people, all of us who come from these social norms of patriarchal hierarchy, which includes a man, which includes a woman, a policewoman, a judge, female judge, whosoever it is. Because it's not that the man is patriarchal, even the women are like that.
Absolutely.
So this is where a lot of sensitization has to take place. understand who the other person is, understand who you are.
I do not like the word sensitization. A police by law is supposed to do certain things, and police must do those things, and police must know that they have to do these things. So whether they are sensitive or not, they have to perform their role. And constantly we use this word sensitization as if it is a choice. That like people saying the sensitization, you must make tea for your wife because she is also working, you have to be sensitized to women. No, as a police officer, you are getting a salary, you are sitting there doing a duty, you are there in public money, so you are supposed to perform the role. Do you know what role you have to perform? What does the law say? Law has provided exact details you should or you should not do. And are you thorough with it? And then the accountability system. If you violate it, if you do not follow it, if you take it lightly, or if you perform your role with a callousness or with a bias, what is the punishment? If the punishment is clearly stipulated to all police stations that everybody has to perform this role, and if you do not do this role, this is going to happen in your performance audit and various things, then they will fall in line. So the sensitization word is very mild. It's just like, you have to be sensitive, men has to be sensitive, fathers have to be sensitized towards their daughters. It is not like that. You as a police officer are bound to do these things. This is the law. Please understand the law and follow the law. For this message to go down, the seniors has to take it seriously. It's not an NGO who has to take it seriously. It should not come from outside. It should come from inside. Right from police commissioner to the joint commissioner to the ACP downwards. That every police senior inspector in charge of a police station must drill it into this entire team, not just women. Men and women, when a victim comes, what you should do. And that is by law. This is not like because NGOs are saying it. Firstly, cases are not registered because there is no support for the victim. Police station is very far. The victim herself doesn't understand that she has been violated. Even if she is violated, then there is panchayat meets, the community meets, and everybody attempts to compromise. So the most cases, only when the cases are not compromised, then you go further and file a case in the police station. So in situations such as this, family violations are never coming out at all. It's only the neighbor or some local gunda, etc. Only those cases come up in that situation.
In the rural areas, mostly very few women report. The big crisis is of reporting. Women don't report, and if they don't report, how will they get justice? In Delhi and Bombay, there is enough human cry that women come up and report. So it's more important to make the women in rural areas feel confident that they should come up and report, and that their reports will be acted upon.
In the smaller places and in the rural areas, this is all put under the blanket. And who is at fault for whatever has happened? Is this girl, is this woman, is this person who is the victim? That person is at fault. They are not able to look into who has been the perpetrator and how this perpetrator, what is the relationship of this perpetrator with this victim.
In my view, and I am no authority on this, there is no justice in the rural areas. Occasionally, because we have articulate, strong citizens, women and men, who can speak about all this in urban areas, there is some sunwai. That doesn't mean that it is better. It just means occasionally you get some good results. Occasionally. Is that the standard that we want? How can it be the standard that we want? So what shall we do about it? Improve the judicial system, improve the justice system, right from police to defense, to prosecution, to the courts, to the lower courts and the higher courts, to the jails, to probation, to bail, to every element. You have to improve it from top to bottom, or break it down and start again if you can't manage it. But to say that the citizen must wait on this is just shirking your duty.